Hey pilots, I only eat meat, and it sounds crazy and I surprise myself when I say it out loud. Today I'm going to talk to you about my journey from eating foods that I thought were healthy to transitioning to a carnivore way of eating. And I'm going to talk about what impact it's having on my health. So we're going to have to go back a little bit to when I was younger. So since I was little, I've always had a sensitive tummy. Like certain foods I've really struggled to eat, for example beef, which is really ironic since that's all I eat now. Anything processed, full of junk, like additives and that, nah, I cannot cope with that. But the main thing when I was little was white bread. If I ate white bread, I would be absolutely dead. I could not eat it at all. I'd have headaches, I'd be pooping my brains out, which is gross, and I'd be suffering for ages. Yeah, it's really ironic because I could eat baps, but hey ho, baps. If I got a cold, and if I get a cold now, it goes straight to my stomach and I end up vomiting towards the end of it. So now, if I get a cold, I absolutely dread it because then I know I'm gonna get sick. It's literally just vomiting nose gunk. In the past couple of years, however, my digestive issues really took a turn for the worse. It became more than just having a sensitive stomach. It was bloating, constipation, more discomfort and flare-ups. My food sensitivity was a lot more increased, and I was having these flare-ups where I wouldn't go to the toilet for a poo for like 2 weeks at a time. I was walking around like I was pregnant with baby elephants, and I was just completely dosed up on laxatives just to try and shift things, and that's when it started really taking a turn for the worst. And having to rely on taking laxatives isn't healthy because it's just a load of like chemicals and drugs, and I was drinking gallons of this stuff. In my second year of uni, which was like 2 years ago, during a checkup for my contraceptive pill, I mentioned the problems that I was having with my flare-ups, and the doctor said, yeah, it sounds like you've got IBS. I was suspecting that I had IBS anyway because I did a bit of my own research, and they said that I had IBS-C, so that's the constipation type. It felt good to have some form of diagnosis, so I'm not thinking I'm dying or anything. I then went gluten-free and cut out wheat, gluten. It wasn't too hard to do, and I was kind of trying to do that anyway. I always knew that I reacted badly to eating, say like white bread. Things did get a bit easier for a while and it was more manageable, but with you being at university and being under stress, things still would flare up. And at that point I figured it was down to my emotions and my stress. So then I was figuring out how to manage my stress and make sure that I'm not freaking out over every little thing, being a constipated mess. In my last year of uni, which is just come and gone, I focused a lot on self-care and exercise. So I was going to the gym about 3 times a week and I was really enjoying it, and it was helping. And I was taking more time out to do things that I enjoyed, like gaming, reading, watching movies, spending time with my friends, to ensure that I have a balance and I'm not like a big stressy mess. Yet my stomach problems decided to get worse because, yeah, my stomach really loves me like that. So it was like, we're gonna get worse for you and make life really difficult. During my exams, I could not poop for 3 weeks. It was the greatest time of my life. Right, I know it was stress related and it was because I had loads of exams coming up, but it was not fun. I was absolutely frustrated. I was at my wit's end. I got an emergency appointment at the doctor's for them to make me lay down, lift my shirt up, poke my stomach a couple of times and be like, oh yeah, guess what? Oh, that's your stomach artery. So, thanks for telling me that I have an artery in my stomach. I'm not here about that. I'm here about the poop that's in there and causing me a lot of pain and discomfort. And then they just said, well, there's no poo in there. Can't feel anything, you're fine. And I had to beg them and say, please help me. So then they gave me another dose of laxatives that I already had at home anyway, but not fun times. That the day that I finally went was literally my exams. I got to say to the doctors, please don't say the line of it's all in your head, because it's not. It's really, really, really annoying. It feels really bad when the doctors just tell that all these problems you've been suffering is all in your head when you know it's not. I was eating at the time a very clean diet, or what I thought was a really clean diet. I didn't eat breakfast, so I was doing intermittent fasting, and I was eating a lot of fruit, veg, protein. A typical lunch for me when I was in my 3rd year would be a bowl of oats with a chopped up apple on top, maybe a couple of blueberries, strawberries, and then milk. Or I would have porridge with the same thing, and then I would put a bit of peanut butter on top, a bit of coconut flakes, you know, just spruce it up a little bit. That would be a typical lunch, and then a typical dinner was chicken, rice, and then a bit of veg. And I would not stray away from that unless I had curry or a treat every once in a while, which would be like macaroni cheese, because everybody loves macaroni cheese. My only issue with this, my bin in my uni room was full of chocolate wrappers. I had a sugar addiction. Chocolate, I loved it, and by the end of the week when I was emptying my bin in my bedroom, I was a bit concerned when it was full to the brim of chocky wrappers. When I moved back home in March due to the virus, because I got kicked out of my flat on campus because it was being used as a quarantine flat, I thought I had my IBS and my digestive issues under control. My bloating was pretty minimal. I wasn't suffering from constipation as much. The one thing I really struggled with was the fact that the gyms had closed, and that was like my main outlet for stress and being able to manage my IBS and my symptoms. But it gave me the opportunity to start doing running 3 times a week, with yoga, which I've really enjoyed, and now gyms are open again, I'm back there. However, one night back in March, April time, we were watching Johnny English Returns, a good film, and I accidentally ate ice cream which had wheat in. Pretty sure it was a double-decker ice cream thing. And that night I was in agony. My stomach ballooned. I had awful headache. I felt so unwell and I was in tears, in pain. And from there things just got worse. And I think that night was like a little trigger. From that moment onwards, I've battled with frequent constipation and persistent bloating. I mean, waking up every single day to your stomach being not normal, to it looking bigger than normal and feeling just really bad. And then when you eat food, it just stretches and balloons. Didn't matter how clean I was eating, it was ballooning and it was painful and I felt awful. I was making all my own foods by scratch, so there was nothing tainting the food and meaning I was getting an allergic reaction or an intolerance in any way. I increased my fibre because that's what the doctors told me to do, so I was eating more fruit. I stuck with intermittent fasting and I still do that now. Decided to get privately tested for allergens and intolerances, and it turns out that I was allergic and intolerant to literally everything. Allergic to peanuts, gluten, wheat, soy, yeast, strawberries, egg whites, and I was having a heaped teaspoon of peanut butter on my oats every single day. I absolutely love this stuff. Think of the damage it could be doing my insides. With that new knowledge, I cut out all the things that I was intolerant or allergic to, started cooking all my own stuff at home. I never ate any processed rubbish, junk. I was just eating things that I assumed was clean. You know, like chicken and pesto. If I wanted to have pasta, I would make zucchini pasta. Burgers, I would make from scratch, or we would get the vegetarian burgers. I would really try to stay away from beef or anything that was really like hard to digest. Tried to stay away from grains other than oats and rice. The treats that I would make would be like chocolate fudge made out of like dates, so it was raw food. Yet my stomach issues were just getting really bad. I absolutely hated myself. I know it sounds sad saying that, but I did. Like, when I looked in the mirror, it was horrendous. And in my eyes, like, you kind of get confused because you're like, am I doing something wrong? Am I getting fat? Or is it just that I'm ill? It kind of becomes a mental thing as well, because every time you eat, you know you're going to get really bloated. So in a way, it made me not enjoy eating food, and I did have a bit of like a fear of food and eating certain things, and I wanted to eat really small amounts of things. It was awful. I was living in my PJs because I didn't want to wear any nice clothes because I didn't like the way I looked. I was so self-conscious. And that's the thing, is when they say like, oh, it's IBS with constipation, I didn't care about the constipation part of it. It was the bloating. I went back to the doctors pleading with them to just help me because I was frustrated. I I tried everything. I even went down the Chinese medicine route, which didn't help at all. It didn't do anything. I went to doctors and said, please help me. You need to sort something out here. This was around June, and the doctor took my temperature, then started asking me loads of questions. How long have I had these stomach issues? Have I had this symptom? Have I had a cough and cold? I'm thinking, what are you on about? And then he was actually trying to diagnose me and my symptoms and my condition of IBS as the virus. He was trying to tell me that the thing I've been suffering with for like a good couple of years or so is being coronavirus. And it made me so mad. Well, I asked for some tests to be done, so I did like pee test, poo test, they came back fine. Went for an ultrasound, that came back fine. Blood tests came back fine. I did ask the doctor, what if these tests come back and show that there's nothing wrong with me? And he said, you just have to manage it. By this point, I was really down. I was in my PJs, baggy clothes, seeking some sort of sympathy and answers as to what was wrong with me. I didn't want to go outside or do anything. I was really lethargic. I hated my body. That was the one thing. And to be fair, it still is a thing that I have to deal with. And I think that's the biggest part of it for me was the body image side of it, because I was taking so much pride in my fitness, especially, and to see all that in my eyes go and disappear was like heartbreaking. I was doing 24-hour fasts like once a week, which really helped my symptoms. My stomach was deflated, and then I would break my fast by eating just like a handful of dates. But then even just doing that would completely balloon my stomach. Turning to Twitter to ask for help, a few followers suggested that I had looked into the carnivore diet. The first time this got suggested, I kind of poo-pooed it because of my difficulty of digesting meat, and I always thought, I can never eat beef because I can't digest it properly, and I find it really difficult to eat. Entering July, I was really unwell, and I mean really unwell. On my birthday in July, I treated myself to a lot of food I wouldn't normally eat as well, so then I was feeling worse. I knew I had to figure something out because I couldn't go on like this, and my dad suggested doing the carnivore diet. He's already done it before. He's done paleo. I said, right, okay, we'll do it then. On the 12th of July, I took the plunge and decided I'm gonna just go in carnivore diet, all in. My dad has decided to join me on it as well for weight loss and a bit of moral support, which is really nice because then I got to cook for someone and someone can help me cook stuff as well. I had no idea what I should be eating, but thankfully one of my friends on Twitter sat down with me on Skype and helped me go over everything that I needed to be eating, that I needed to be on high fat, my electrolytes, keeping track on that, understanding that the first few weeks on carnivore wasn't going to be easy because of the carb withdrawals and as your body's transitioning to becoming fat adapted. He explained that it'd be a really long journey for healing for me because I've spent so many years damaging my body and not feeding it what it really wants, that it's going to take a long time to heal and repair itself. And I accepted that. I knew that that would be the case because I was at the point where eating any form of food caused it to be inflamed. And it still does. It still gets inflamed from just eating food. But I know now that that's not me eating wrong. It's just my body recovering and healing itself, building itself up to being back to where it was before. Well, not back to what it was before, but to a new version of itself where it doesn't have to live in pain or discomfort and it doesn't get bloated anymore. And that day is a long way away, but it's working towards that. I always think you meet people for a reason, and speaking to my friend on Twitter, I definitely agree. I'm so thankful to have met him, and we have so much in common. We're on the same wavelength as well, so if you're watching, thank you so much. I then started researching for myself about the carnivore diet whilst I was shoving my face full of meat. Been eating bacon, which I'm absolutely obsessed with, steaks, you name it, I'm eating it. I was unfollowing all of the clean eating accounts that I followed on Instagram, which was a lot of inspiration for the food I was cooking before. And then I started following accounts like Health Coach Kate, Paul Saladino, Ken Berry, Carnivore Yogi, Laura Spath. Lots of people sharing some really eye-opening posts on what I should be eating and what we really need to know about nutrition. I learned that oats are bad for us and that they're doing more harm than good, yet in the past I'd been shoving my face full of it and eating it every single day. And that in contrast, high fat is really good for the body and we need to be eating a really high fat diet. Before I was eating high sugar, a lot of sugary foods, fruit, veg, carbs, and I thought that it would somehow help my body. But in reality, I was killing myself. I was poisoning myself. I started watching Elliot Overton's videos on oxalates and oxalate dumping and toxicity, and how oxalates form as crystals in the body, and this can lead to poor gut health, all just from eating plants which are high in oxalates. Rhubarb, kale, spinach, nuts, all these foods that I absolutely loved eating and I was cooking with regularly and consuming was actually doing more harm than good. Oh, my mind was absolutely just blown, because this whole time I thought I was being healthy, but I was just making things worse. And especially by doctors who were telling me to make sure not to eat, cruciferous vegetables, but still eat vegetables which are low FODMAP. Yet these things were still damaging. Ken Berry's video on why you shouldn't eat oatmeal or porridge if you're in the UK was very shocking, because it can cause high blood sugar levels. Obviously it's a lot of carbs. It's not a very sustainable energy source because you eat it and then you eventually crave carbs again a couple hours later. So now I eat a lot of fatty cuts of meat. So I'm eating ribeyes, I eat rump steak cooked into a stew. That looks absolutely... Actually looks really grimy, but... MasterChef. Chicken thighs wrapped in bacon, put in the air fryer, crisp it up. Beef mince, I eat a lot of beef mince. Belly pork. Sausages as snacks, crab, salmon, sardines, mackerel, prawns. I've had liver for the first time and I really love it. But I stay away from eggs and dairy due to my intolerances, and I feel like eating that would cause too much of a flare-up and my body just needs time to heal. I do eventually want to introduce dairy and eggs again, but I'm just going to let my body get nourished from meat. During my first week, I really struggled from carb withdrawals. I was sluggish, I was exhausted, I had headaches, I felt absolutely awful, my eyes were hurting, but it soon passed. I got my hands on some magnesium, potassium and some digestive enzymes, which I'm still taking, just to ensure I keep my electrolytes up. And then I take the enzymes after I've eaten, just to help my body digest a bit easier. The results have been absolutely insane. I just don't understand it. Well, I do, now that I've been reading into it, but it's still so surprising to me that it was as simple as just eating meat. During the first week I was still having bloating, but then I reached a day where I woke up and overnight my bloating was non-existent, and it was so amazing. It was that amazing feeling of it's working, it is doing some good, and there is hope. I have more energy, I feel better about myself. I'm wearing clothes I wouldn't have normally worn and I haven't worn for so long because I felt so self-conscious, but now I can wear tighter fitting clothes and feel confident and feel happier in myself. And that is the part that is most important to me, is that my mental health is so much better. I'm not feeling down. I feel like there is hope. Recently my inflammation has flared up a little bit, and I'll be honest, it caused me a bit of panic. I think it was a combination of a lot of things. I mean, I started eating lamb for the first time and my body didn't react too well to that, so I think that played a part in it. I've had a bit of a stressful time recently and found some things really difficult and struggled a bit, especially with my mental health, and I think the stress of that has led to a bit of a flare-up, along with water weight and things like that, and it's all just a big combination and a big messy ball that has led to a few flare-ups. I did move on to a very strict just eating beef drinking water and having salt. And I did that for a few days, but it was difficult to tell if anything was really helping. And I know in some ways just eating beef eliminates any potential other triggers to my stomach, but found it difficult to get the fat in as well, other than just eating mince and fatty steaks. But honestly, I don't think it made as much as a difference. So now I'm introducing chicken thighs again and fattier cuts of meat, like having bacon as well, because I think my stomach issues are very much connected to my stress levels as well, and the fact that it is going to take a really long time to heal, and I understand that and I accept that, and I know it's because my body is still reacting to anything that enters it. I did get a bit worried that maybe things are getting worse again, but really I just need to keep going and keep eating this way. In a way, it has been tough going from eating foods that I thought was clean to eating just meat and eating this way. It wasn't difficult in terms of I've stuck to it. I've never once wanted to cheat. But in terms of before, I was quite restrictive, making sure I was eating clean. And I had this fear around food because I was scared it was going to hurt me. And I didn't like eating because I knew the way it would impact me. And I'm still coming to terms with that, and it's going to be a really long process to get to a point where I'm happy with that too. But so far, I'm doing so much better, all just from eating meat, and it is really healing. The carnivore diet has changed my life, and I know that sounds very extreme, but it has. It's given me hope that things will get better. It's made me stop and think about nutrition and realise that the things we think we know about nutrition and what we've been taught isn't actually true. It's not right. It makes you wonder why doctors are pushing a certain way of eating. So if you have IBS, you're told to maybe eat more fibre or go on a low FODMAP diet, which for most of it is eating like rice and grains. A lot of foods are actually really damaging and that we shouldn't be eating. Simply by eating meat, you can help heal yourself and make a difference to your life. I know there are people who thrive on a balanced diet, a vegetarian diet and a vegan diet. I think that a way of eating is a very personal thing, kind of like having your own thumbprint. Our digestive system and our bodies have their own needs. It has its own digestive profile, and what might work for one person might not necessarily work for another person. For me, carnivore diet is what my body needs, and it's working, it's healing me. It's going to be a really long journey, and I'm not even a month into it yet. I'm almost a month, but I've got such a long way to go. I only wish that I'd have made the transition to carnivore sooner. Well, that's it so far. I'm still learning, I'm still figuring things out. I'm just focusing on healing my body, enjoying life, and as well I'm focusing on going back to the gym, lifting weights, getting strong and feeling just even more confident about myself and my body. To see the person that I was not even a month ago to where I am now is mind-blowing, and I'm just so thankful and happy about it. Thanks for watching, pilots. If you'd like to help support the channel, please subscribe to Dare to Fly today and get ready to take flight. Turn notifications on so that you get notified every time I upload a video. Share this video with others and leave a comment down below on your thoughts on the carnivore diet, or if you have any questions you want to ask me. I'll answer anything. You can stay in touch with me on social media. I'm most active on Twitter at daretofly777. So you're best following me there to see what I'm retweeting, tweeting, and all the random thoughts in my head. And as always, fly high, fear less.